7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's now time for the Pony Cake Sports Podcast with your hosts, Josh Stevens, Tim Thompson, and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Hey there, everybody. We are back with another episode. And as always, I'm joined here with Tim and Tom. But Tim is actually not here. Tom is here. Tom, how's it going?
Good to be back, Joshua. Lost my voice the week before from screaming at that Colts-Texans game. But it's back. It sucks Tim's not here, but it's good to see you again, buddy.
Oh, yeah, as always. And you know what it was? I think Tim said last week you weren't here because the Colts were just so bad the week before. But you know what? He's not here because, one, his Bears didn't play, and two, his fantasy team sucks. It is awful.
He's not good.
Not like ours. I'm 5-0. You're 3-2. A respectable 3-2 because our league is filled with some of the better fantasy players that you can find out there. But his team's trash at 1-4, trading people away. Maybe that's the reason why he's not here. Also, he's putting a garage door on a roof. I don't know if that's the right move there.
That's Tim's family for you. Explains a lot.
Very interesting. Let's go ahead and start this off with the Thursday night game. We had the Indianapolis Colts, your Colts, 24-38 to the Patriots. House divided, Tom. Correct?
Yeah, it was interesting. You know, the wife's a big Patriots fan. This game started off ugly. Even before the game started, Colts were down 10 starters, and then it ended up being 13 total starters from week one that weren't playing in this football game. Absolutely crazy. It's mind-boggling that they somewhat kept this close in the second half. They cannot run the football right now. That offensive line is banged up, but Andrew Luck kept them in this football game. Couple bad interceptions by him and Tom Brady in this one. But I give the Colts credit. They kept fighting. They didn't give up. A lot of teams lose without that many star players, especially with your best defender, your second, third, fourth best offensive players out. I'm shocked they kept it this close. A lot of people thought it'd be a 40-3 or 40-10 type football game.
Yeah, actually, right before this game kicked off, we were talking back and forth, and this is one of the games, like, I'm a part of a pick'em league with the spreads, and this spread at the time was, I believe it was 10.5, something close to that, maybe 11.5. But I said that they were going to keep this game within 17 points. I thought the Colts weren't going to get blown out like a lot of people thought. Yeah. I think Andrew Luck is throwing the ball way too much. Him throwing the ball almost 60 times
again
is pretty outrageous. I don't know how that arm is going to hold up, but you know what? He's done that for a couple back-to-back weeks, and maybe they feel a little bit comfortable with that. But you know what they have to do? They got to get a running game going. Nyheim Hines ran the ball 15 times, and Wilkins ran the ball 6 times. I don't care that they ran it for 21 times. I really think we need to see like a 25 to 30 carries. Regardless, they can't have Andrew Luck throwing the ball almost 60 times per game.
In a perfect world, I'm sure they would do that, but they're down 24-3 at halftime, you know. So they needed to be airing the football out. But, yeah, a lot of people after the Week 3 game against Philly were freaking out that Brissett came in to throw that Hail Mary.
Yeah.
The following week, he threw the football over 60 times, 450 yards, threw a 60-yard Hail Mary, wasn't that 70-yarder, right before it was either halftime or before intermission at the end of the game. But I think it's safe to say Luck's back right now. He's kind of his old self. He's making some very good throws. He's got good zip on the ball. He's pushing the football downfield. And I think it's safe to say that the reason his passes have been so short is because that's what the offense is. It's a lot of dink and dunk, similar to what Tom Brady has done, and they'll take their shots when they need to, but it's not that straight-up vertical passing game that we're used to from Andrew Luck.
On the other side of the ball, Sonny Michel runs the ball 18 times for almost 100 yards and a touchdown. James White, who has been he kind of carried this team for the first couple of weeks, only had 2 carries for 0 yards, but if you look at his receptions, 10 for 77 and a touchdown. Is it safe to say that this is a running back by committee in a sense where you have one running the ball and the other one is just there catching the ball at the backfield?
100%. It's kind of similar to what we saw last year. The role Sony Michel has right now is pretty much the role that Deion Lewis had last year. That's the role that I thought he would take over. He's going to have somewhere between 150, 200 total touches. But in this offense, that's enough to be effective. And James White, he's going to be that main pass-catching running back. Tom Brady has come out and said, I need more James White. He's that good of a receiver, that good of a pass blocker. When they need him to run inside the 10-yard line, he could do it. He's not like that typical scat back that is afraid to run in between the tackles or run inside the goal line. I absolutely love both these backs. I think it's a perfect fit for what they're trying to do for the New England Patriots offense. But Sony Michel, he brings balance to this offense. That's what they need. He's a better running back, a better normal running back, a guy that can run the football 15 to 20 times a game than James White is in my eyes.
James White, he's from Wisconsin, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I'm trying to think who he came after. Melvin Gordon?
I think it was after.
Yeah? Okay.
Or was it? Can't remember if he was right before Gordon.
I think it was right at... I can't remember. We'll talk about that later. I just always like to remember what colleges some of these guys go to. But let's move on to the Ravens versus Browns. Another overtime game for the Browns. Honestly, I didn't see this outcome, man. I had Joe Flacco as one of my sneaky plays, your must-starts for this week number 5. And he let me down. He threw the ball 56 times, almost 300 yards. No touchdowns, though, so that was a little disappointing. Baker Mayfield, though, looking like a true starter out there. 342 yards, a touchdown, interception, but he did take 5 sacks. There has been reports that I can't remember who it was, but they said that Baker Mayfield is this generation's Brett Favre. That's a lot of praise right there and a lot of expectations to live up to. What do you think about the Browns pulling out this win, 12-9? And did you see that last field goal?
Yep.
That was a knuckler.
Yeah.
That was a knuckler.
The person who said the Brett Favre statement was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens.
Oh, was it? Okay.
He said that like Tuesday or Wednesday last week, and Hugh Jackson was like, whoa, we don't need this positivity. He's just trying to set us up for failure and all this stuff. So he refused to pretty much agree with him that Baker's something special. And I really think Baker is something special. I believe both of us had him as our number one QB in this draft class, which wasn't a very good take. Tim called us crazy. A lot of other draft analysts were like clear cut.
Yeah, I think
Sam Bradford number 1, and I didn't think that was the case at all.
Sam Darnold, but Sam Bradford, he's trash. But I think it was really between Josh Rosen, who we thought could have been the number 1, and Baker Mayfield. But I think Baker Mayfield checked every single box that we were looking for. Sam Darnold, we were not high on, but Josh Rosen, best pure passer in this draft class. And I believe all the rookies this week went 4-0.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Week before they were 0-4, so it kind of shows you how the NFL can change. But this is a big-time win for the Browns. Their first win on a Sunday in over 1,000 days. Absolutely insane for this football team. Baker had the 1 touchdowns, but then for the Ravens, bunch of field goals. Browns, bunch of field goals. I really thought this game was going to be another tie, which would be pretty fitting for the Browns. It would have been funny if they were 1-2-2.
That would be something.
I don't know the last time a team has had 2 ties in the NFL year, but this Browns team, they're going to be in almost every football game they play in. This is a big-time AFC North victory for them, though.
Yeah, three overtime games. That's crazy. Moving on, Titans versus the Bills. The Bills win this game 13-12. Marcus Mariota's trash. Josh Allen threw for under 100 yards, but he had a rushing touchdown. Is it safe to say that these two teams are possibly the 2 worst teams in the NFL, even though the Bills have 2 wins and the Titans have 3 wins?
I wouldn't say the Titans are one of the worst teams. I think a lot of people think they're a lot better than they actually are. Their defense is very good.
Yeah.
They have a very good defense.
Let me say this. The worst offense teams in the NFL.
Yeah, these 2 teams right now are playing early 1990s football when the rest of the NFL is playing like 2010 college football. Yeah. Which it's a fun time in the NFL. But the Titans, man, Marcus Mariota does not look healthy. The ball coming out of his hands is ugly. He doesn't have much power, much velocity coming off the foot to the football as well. This was just an ugly football game. I was really high on the Bills and like Daly and DFS. cashed pretty well in a tournament because of their defense, extremely low ownership, but it's just an embarrassing loss for the Tennessee Titans. They go from beating like the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing great defense, and then they lose to the Buffalo Bills. It says a lot.
It's been a weird season for the whole league as a whole. But for the Tennessee Titans, it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
We saw Deion Lewis putting up a huge stat line week 1, and he hasn't been there since. Derrick Henry, monster of a running back, we haven't seen him at all year. Corey Davis, big game last week, nothing this week. So it's going to be very interesting to see where that Titans offense goes, but it's going to ride and die on that defense for sure.
One thing I could say about this Bills team, Tre'Davious White is a baller. He pretty much locked down Corey Davis most of this whole game. Limited him to 4 receptions, 49 yards. A lot of people were all in on him this week and daily, especially after the big-time performance he put on against the Eagles the week before. But yeah, Titans beat the Jaguars, beat the Eagles, lose the Bills. It's kind of showing what their season's like so far.
Next game, Dolphins at the Bengals. Bengals win this game 27-17. Joe Mainman Mixon, 22 rushes, 93 yards. He also had, I believe, 3 receptions for 22 yards and a touchdown. It's kind of funny when you look at it, Tom. Last year, a lot of people were down on Joe Mixon with the whole coming in the draft process, the video that came out, didn't get to attend the combine, all that nonsense. And lo and behold, I'm on ESPN Network earlier today, ESPN 1000, driving in my car, and I hear, Joe Mixon is such a great running back. And I'm laughing. I'm like, who said that last year?
Yep.
We did. We said Joe Mixon was the best running back in the draft class. Joe Mixon. This team is based around Joe Mixon. They need to get Joe Mixon the ball. I don't understand why he was a second-round draft pick. What the fuck do you mean you don't understand why he was a second-round draft
Pretty
pick?
obvious.
Come on. Did you guys forget what you guys talked about all year last year? Get your head out of your butts. Like, seriously. It's crazy. And that is the stuff that blows my mind with some of these people that cover the NFL and football in general. They get it stuck in their head for half a season. This guy did this. This guy did this. This guy did this. We need to hate on him. Now, the season's over. New season. Oh, he's the best running back in the league. I'm sorry, but you're an idiot.
I was kind of shocked the workload that Mixon got in this football game. They used him more than I thought they would have. They came out and said they weren't going to rely on him that much. They weren't going to have him be like...
Especially coming back from injury.
Yeah, which makes sense, but he looked healthy out there. And the Dolphins have been pretty good, a pretty solid defense. But this was a head-scratching game. I was pretty upset. 17-3 going to the fourth quarter, and then the Bengals dropped 24 points in the fourth quarter. Mixon had that fantastic receiving touchdown, and they also got, I believe it was 2 defensive touchdowns in the fourth quarter as well for the Bengals. That defense and this rookie class for the Bengals is really helping this team in general. Jesse Bates is a stud. Sam Hubbard had a touchdown as well in this football game. The Bengals, quietly, 4-1. Not a lot of people were respecting this team in general. I'm not a big believer in Andy Dalton, but he's got this football team playing good right now. AJ Green is back to being AJ Green, and Joe Mixon, man, the team is running through him, and they are a much better overall unit when he is healthy.
Moving on to the next game, we have the Packers at the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions win this game 31-23. I want to start on the side of the ball with the Lions. The Lions here, Matthew Stafford doesn't even throw for 200 yards, but they run the ball 28 times. Kerryon Johnson, 12 rushes. LeGarrette Blount, 12 rushes. Blount has 2 touchdowns, 22 yards total. Kerryon Johnson, same amount of rushes, 70 yards rushing. They need to get this kid the ball more often. It kills me. I understand that Matt Patricia came out and said that Kerryon Johnson's getting the ball the right amount of times. No, he's not.
Yeah.
He is not getting the ball the right amount of times. We said this before the draft last year. Kerryon Johnson, the way he runs the ball, or at least I did, he reminds me a little bit of Le'Veon Bell, the way that he waits behind the line, then goes through. I like Kerryon Johnson. There's no way I'm saying that he is Le'Veon Bell, but he's got those Le'Veon Bell tendencies and the eyes where he's looking for the hole and then goes through it. But the one thing that I did want to talk about, besides that, Kenny Golladay, 4 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Looks like Kenny Golladay is the real deal. Back-to-back weeks that are pretty big weeks overall. I love Kenny Golladay in this offense. I think you're going to start seeing Marvin Jones Jr. as the fadeaway wide receiver. It's going to be Golden Tate and Kenny Golladay for the Lions.
Man, this game really cost me a lot of money this week, Josh.
Did it?
In daily, yes. So I was kind of big on Stafford. I thought the Packers were going to be able to put up some points. You know, I stacked Stafford with some Marvin Jones. He was just so cheap. He did give me that touchdown. And then, I think I only started Marquez Valdes-Scantling in 20% of my lineups. Pretty much everyone else had him in almost every lineup.
Really?
Super cheap. So, big-time differences. And this game pretty much screwed me, in all honesty. My first losing week on DraftKings. But the big issue with this game is Mason Crosby, man. Just, what he missed, was it 3 field goals and an extra point?
No, I believe he missed, was it 5 field goals?
It was probably...
Dude, I thought he missed 5 field goals.
Whatever. The
He
difference...
missed 4 field goals.
4 field goals and an
And
extra
an
point.
extra point. 5 kicks total.
So that difference would have meant a Green Bay Packers victory. That is huge, and we've seen this before. When a kicker loses confidence, it's just over with. We'll see if Mason Crosby can get it back. We've seen him struggle and go through a couple games where he just completely struggles, and we'll see if this Green Bay Packer team can rely on him in the future.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, man, does not look healthy.
No.
I'll say that again. 442 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that is impressive, but at the same time, running the ball only 20 times. Aaron Jones is your best running back, in my opinion. I know you have Williams and Montgomery in there for pass blocking and catching the ball in the backfield, but you know what? You got to put Aaron Jones in there. I don't care if he's going to cost you a little bit in the pass blocking. Once Williams goes in there, you know he's in there to pass block. You know what the play is. We had this conversation via text between you, myself, Tim, and Mike. I just think that you need to do something a little bit different in that backfield. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but that's just the way I feel.
I don't think Jones got a snap in the second half.
No,
either.
I don't think so either. I think it's an atrocious move. I think he's your best weapon out of the backfield. You need to do something to get him the ball. Moving on, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-0 now. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 3-2. The Chiefs won this game 30-14. Don't know if I said that. But Patrick Mahomes was one of the guys that I said temper those expectations on. He had 313 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, but did have 1 rushing touchdown, 4 rushes for 13 yards.
Yeah, we finally saw Patrick Mahomes kind of look somewhat human with those 2 interceptions, the first 2 on the season. This game was all about Blake Bortles not playing very well.
Yeah.
A lot of people were worried about
Did you see the one pass that he had?
that against the offensive line's helmet.
Yeah. So if you guys have not seen this, please go on Twitter and just type in Blake Bortles idiot.
It's almost as bad as the Buffalo.
It's not good. So he drops back, throws the ball, rips it, goes right into the center of the guard's helmet, bounces up in the air for an interception. It was awful. Sorry, continue.
I have no idea what he was doing on that play. You know, the weather in this football game kind of scared me. I thought the Jags would be able to kind of limit the Chiefs. There was torrential downpour all the night before, the morning of, but it looked like it kind of cleared up and the rain wasn't coming down too hard. But the Chiefs kind of just put a whooping on the Jags. That defense looked pretty good in this football game. Blake Bortles, 4 interceptions. I think he had a fumble, or there was another fumble as well. But the Chiefs they're a real deal right now. That offense can just put tremendous pressure on any defense. And the Jags are the best defense in the NFL. And I really don't think it's that close right now. And they were able to drop 30 on them. Big props to the Chiefs. Another big test this weekend against the Patriots at New England.
Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to comment on was the outcome between Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had 61 yards receiving. And then when asked about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey again said he's still nothing special. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a false statement because he's a very special player and athlete in general. But Jalen Ramsey's he's just being himself.
Yeah.
It's funny. He's always good for a good soundbite.
Trolling people, I like
Yep.
it. Denver Broncos at the New York Jets. The Jets win this game 34-16. The one thing that I wanted to talk about, Tom, is that Case Keenum threw this ball 51 times. This game was over, legitimately over in the fourth quarter. And I honestly thought, and I was waiting to see Mr. Kelly come into the game and start throwing the ball around. But I didn't see it. And I was actually listening on the radio, and they even said, well, at this point in time, I thought we would see Chad Kelly out here, and he was still not out there. I am still holding firm that Chad Kelly is going to be the quarterback to this Broncos team by the end of the year.
It'll be interesting. I've seen a couple Denver beat writers who have thought the same thing, and we've had a couple other people say that they're inside and they haven't heard that yet.
About once every 2 weeks or so, I always throw out that Chad Kelly tweet. So we'll see.
It'll probably happen eventually. Case Keenum hasn't been playing that well. I don't think you can really blame him for the loss in this game. You had to blame the Denver Broncos defense in this one.
Yeah.
They were not able to stop the run. 38 rushes for the New York Jets, 323 yards, 8.5 yards per pop, and 1 touchdown. That's fantastic football for the Jets. If they want to win football games, that's how they're going to have to win them, because I don't think Sam Darnold he's not that game-changing franchise quarterback right now as we speak. He truly is a rookie who looks like the game might be a little too big for him. Can't really expect him to lead a team. He's kind of getting that Mitchell Trubisky treatment from last year. Only 22 attempts in this football game. But the Jets is a big-time win for him. Gets Sam Darnold some more experience. We'll see what's going on with this Denver Broncos football team. They have to be disappointed.
Yeah, whoever that corner is that was covering Robbie Anderson with no safety help,
God.
You should be complaining to somebody. Happened twice. No corner help over the top. Robbie Anderson, they just went on a 9 route. 3 catches, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So I don't think it was Roby. It could have been.
I think it was Roby.
Was it okay? So if it was Roby, you should be slapping some people because you shouldn't be happy. But other than that, the next leading wide receiver besides that, Terrell Pryor for 20 yards. So, yeah, if you're a Jets fan, riding and dying on that rushing game for the Jets, and that is a rushing game that I probably wouldn't feel super comfortable with because it has been hot and cold week in, week out. So. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons at the Pittsburgh Steelers, an outcome which I don't think many people saw, especially being this lopsided. Steelers 41, Falcons 17. The Steelers are now 2-2-1, and the Falcons are now 1-4. We saw a Matt Schwab sighting, very interesting. But the big thing, Le'Veon Bell said he was going to be coming, rumors of Le'Veon Bell coming back between week 7 and week 8, before the bye week, before the trade deadline. And you know who had a big game responding to that? Mr. James Conner, 21 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, and 75 yards.
This is how the Steelers need to run their offense. Look, I do not think that James Conner is as talented as Le'Veon Bell. I don't think he's the receiver that Le'Veon Bell is. I think Le'Veon Bell is an overall better player. But this system in general is great for running backs, and we saw that this week. They finally had a game where they didn't fall behind. They were able to give James Conner the football early, often set the tone of this football game, and then pick their choices, getting Antonio Brown the ball deep, hitting Juju on a couple routes here and there. This is a big-time win for the Steelers. Yeah, I get the Falcons. Look, this defense right now, it's bad. Lost 2 starting safeties,
trash.
Lost a starting corner, starting running back or starting linebacker. Grady Jarrett was out this football game as well. That's why I thought it was a must-start for James Conner in every format, daily, season-long, dynasty. You needed to start him this week, and that paid off big time. The Falcons, the injury bug has hit this team hard, and their season's probably over, in all honesty. The good thing about this team, no matter what, they're going to be putting up, or most cases, they're going to be putting up a lot of points, or the team facing them is going to be putting up a lot of points. You can expect every game they're in for the rest of the year for the point total to be in the high 50s, which is good for fantasy football.
That is very true, very true. Let's move on to the next game, Giants at the Panthers. Giants lose this game in a heartbreaking fashion, 31-33. Panthers, Graham Gano, I feel like he's been in the league forever.
Yeah.
Kicked a 63, right?
Yeah.
63-yard field goal to win the game. And it looked like he had like an extra couple yards on it. But McCaffrey scores his first touchdown of the year, not a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, 5 receptions. Odell Beckham, big game. Saquon Barkley, 2 receiving touchdowns, held firmly on the ground, under 50 yards rushing. McCaffrey, 60 yards. Very interesting game overall. Any other thoughts on it?
Odell Beckham threw a touchdown pass before he caught one this year. Pretty fantastic.
I believe it was the longest pass of the day as well, 57 yards.
That was an awesome play. It was fun to watch. This game, it was kind of heartbreaking. The Red Zone channel was kind of focusing on this after Saquon had that fantastic receiving touchdown to take the lead. Cam made a couple boneheaded decisions on that last drive. 63-yard field goal. It was like, oh, no chance they're going to make this, but whatever. It'll be wide right, wide left. He made it. It was just like, holy crap. It's back-to-back years, though, that the Giants have lost a football game from a field goal at the end of the game that was 63 yards. Crazy.
Did you see Sterling Shepard punching the bench?
Yeah.
And trying to tear the garbage can?
Yeah.
Then did you see all the memes of Sterling, don't treat Eli like that? Dude, it was so funny. But
Internet's awesome.
I saw a lot of people commenting on that, and even the Four Letter Network, they were talking about it, and actually blamed OBJ for the antics that Sterling Shepard was doing on the sideline. Do you agree with that?
Not really. Look, I get what they're trying to say because we've seen OBJ have those sideline antics, and he's been able to get away with it, obviously, because he's a star. So when I'm the big brother, when the little brother sees that I can act away, he's going to act that same way. That's kind of how Sterling Shepard has been. But they're grown men. You got to expect more. Shermer says he's comfortable with how this locker room is, so I'm not too worried about that whole situation.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have the Raiders losing the game 10-26 to the Chargers. The LA Chargers looking pretty good, Tom. We have Melvin Gordon running the ball 19 times for 58 yards and a touchdown. Getting some work taken away from Mr. Austin Eckler running the ball 6 times and 1 big reception for 44 yards and a touchdown. But Phil Rivers quietly having himself a game, 22 for 27, 339 yards passing, and 2 touchdowns, only 1 sack taken.
Raiders are a bad football team.
They're awful.
Did you see the goal line play? It was 1st and goal at the 1, play action, and Carr threw the pick. And you see Marshawn Lynch's reaction.
I did not see his reaction, though.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy.
No.
The guy almost ran. He was returning the ball, and he almost ran right in front of Lynch, and Lynch just took his helmet off, kept walking. So
I'll have to relook that up.
He doesn't really care right now, which I don't blame him. Look, Amari Cooper, 1 target in this football game. 1.
He goes from that big day the week before to 1 target.
And we'll see Seth Roberts get 7, Jared Cook 6. He's been eating this year. Jalen Richard 6, Martavis Bryant 3. It's not good if you're a Raiders fan right now. This is ugly. The Gruden experiment is not working. You brought up Rivers. He's been playing lights out, man. He's been has been turning the football over, getting the football out of his hands early. And right now, Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler are on pace for a better season than Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara had last year, total yardage-wise, which is crazy.
We talked about this between ourselves and Philip Rivers quietly having himself a year overall. I think if he keeps this pace up, Tom, maybe an extra touchdown here and there, we may be talking about Philip Rivers possibly being the MVP, even over somebody like Patrick Mahomes.
He's going to need 11 or 12 wins.
He's going to, definitely. But if you look at his stats right now, you look at his QB rating, 116.4. That is good enough for the 3rd best quarterback.
Good.
His ratios of touchdowns to interceptions, he's only got 2 interceptions on the year. The touchdowns, he's got 13, which is the second most touchdowns on the year. And then his completion percentage, 70%, pretty decent completion percentage. The only guys above him are Drew Brees, Jared Goff, Eli Manning, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. And then your yards total, he's right at 1,500 yards, I believe 1,495 or something like that, which is number 12 overall. But if he continues, and I'm a firm believer of this, if he continues the way that he's going, instead of doing the 300 yards per game because he's at 299 yards per game, if he can bump that up to even 325, that put him at quarterback number 5 or 6, I think we'd be talking about MVP season.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to say that. Firm believer in that.
You love Pip.
I do. I'm a firm believer in him. Next game, we have the Vikings at the Eagles. And the Vikings win this game 23-21. The Eagles put up 15 points in the fourth quarter, but the Vikings edged this one out. Kirk Cousins, 300 yards, 1 touchdown. Adam Thielen, 7 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Crazy game.
He's the only player in NFL history to have 5 consecutive 100-yard games. Absolutely insane.
It is.
It's no other receiver. Not Jerry Rice.
It's crazy.
Not Randy Moss. Not Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, you know what? You
None
got
of
the tiny-ass white guy that was undrafted. I don't even remember what school he went to.
I think it was like Minnesota State.
This
got like a $500 scholarship.
Yeah, this would be like a guy that I should know, like what school he went to, and I don't know off the top of my head, so it's very interesting.
Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, they have been wonderful for the Minnesota Vikings. I almost thought this was kind of like a must-win for both of these teams. Both of these teams we thought would be near the top of the NFC. Both of them we thought would be Super Bowl contenders. And it's kind of been the opposite right now. Of that right now. Both of them have kind of been disappointing. Me personally, it's good to see Kirk Cousins have a quality day against this tough Eagles defense who plays a lot better at home. It's starting to look like Carson Wentz kind of back to his normal self, though. A big-time loss for the Eagles in this game was J.J. He was kind of their lead dog, their workhorse running back, and he tore his ACL. He'll be done for the season. A lot of rumors of what they'll possibly be doing. Rumors they've been talking to the Bills about Shady.
Be an interesting move.
Le'Veon Bell, Carlos Hyde. So it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do and if they want to make a move to stay relevant in the NFC right now.
Adam Thielen at Minnesota State. You were correct.
Okay.
So, it'll be very interesting, and it'll be very interesting to see what this offense looks like when Mr. Cook is actually healthy. Yeah. So I think it's a completely different offense when Cook's healthy. So I hope he is soon. Moving on, Cardinals 28, 49ers 18. Was actually a really close game going to the end of the game, and then Mr. Beathard, according to Tim, he ended up fumbling the ball late in the game. It was actually very competitive game going all the way down to the wire. But Christian Kirk had that big reception for 75 yards and a touchdown from Josh Rosen at the beginning of the game. That was pretty impressive. But Josh Rosen only 10 for 25, did have 170 yards passing. Not the greatest percentage. Did have a touchdown, but David Johnson, 55 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Definitely disappointed with how Rosen's been playing. I think he's a better quarterback than this. I think he's kind of being limited by the coaching staff, in all honesty.
I agree.
The way they're using David Johnson makes no sense to me. He should be getting 5 to 8 targets a football game. This game he got 3. He caught 2 of them. That should be going up. Easy completions that help pad the stats a little bit, help give your quarterback some confidence, and they're not doing that for their young quarterback. Under 50% completion for Rosen, that's not good. And the Niners right now, they're ugly, and I think it's 5 of their next 7 games are supposed to be prime time. They've already changed one of them. Hopefully that continues to happen. Yeah. I do not want to be watching this football team all the time for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next game, we have the Rams at the Seahawks. I thought this was a game that the Seahawks were going to pull out the win, but the Rams win this game 33-31. Jared Goff does not have a normal Jared Goff game. 321, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Todd Gurley, though, 77 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Cooper Kupp, another big game. Bobby Woods, 92 yards. Cook ended up leaving this game with a concussion. On the other side of the ball, Tyler Lockett, 98 yards and a touchdown. That was a very good route that he ran on that. I believe it was a skinny post. And then Chris Carson letting him run the ball, 19 for 116. And Mike Davis, for some reason why, he's still running the ball, 12 for 68 and a touchdown. David Moore had the 2 receptions for touchdowns. For 38 yards, and Brandon Marshall, I believe, only had 7 snaps in this game. So they have obviously moved away from Brandon Marshall. They're moving on to the younger guys like David Moore and Tyler Lockett. It's going to be very interesting to see what this awful Seahawks team does.
In this football game, you brought up Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks, both of them being lost in this football game. I believe they're both of them was before halftime. So that made a difference for Jared Goff. A lot of people say he's just a system quarterback. I don't know if that's the case. He does have a lot of weapons. We did see him struggle once a couple of those weapons did go down. But this team still put up 33 points. The Seahawks, they played a lot better than I thought they would. They were able to run the football, averaging almost 6 yards per attempt, which is fantastic. When you're playing a good football team like the Rams and a high prolific offense, that's what you have to do. You got to be able to run the football, try to control the clock. They weren't able to control the clock good enough, and it's kind of disappointing seeing Russell Wilson, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, throw the football 21 times. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't think that's good football, good modern-day football. This team's kind of taking a step back, and to see Rashard Penny not get a snap in this football game after they spent a first-round pick, total clusterfuck right now.
Like, what are you guys doing? That's a question.
Makes no sense.
Cowboys at the Texans. Texans win this game 19-16. This was the Sunday night game. Dak Prescott, 208 yards. Congratulations, you're awful. Zeke Elliott, 20 rushes for 54 yards. He did have 7 catches out of the backfield for 30 yards, so in PPR formats, that salvaged your day if you were a Zeke owner. On the other side of the ball with the Texans, you did have Alfred Blue starting this game over Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller was dressed, did not play, was due to an injury. I don't understand why you have him dressed.
Yep.
If you're not going to play him, makes no sense, but whatever. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, Tom, with Alfred Blue, 20 carries for 46, but he also had 8 receptions for 73 yards. That's something we haven't seen Lamar Miller do. Is it safe to say just run with Alfred Blue, or maybe when Devonta Foreman comes back?
If that's how I wish they would use Lamar Miller like they used Blue in this game.
Yeah.
That's kind of the issue.
It is the issue, yeah.
I've never seen, I don't think Miller has an issue catching the football. I know he was pretty successful doing it at Miami. They really haven't used him a lot like that in Houston. I don't understand that. That's why it's kind of shocking to see Blue get 8 receptions. He has 8 targets in this football game as well. I really don't understand that at all.
One last thing I want to talk about is the Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, came out and said that they haven't had a number 1 wide receiver in years. Dez Bryant. Who's Dez Bryant? I feel like that's a question on Jeopardy, right? So
yeah.
His statement was, we haven't had a wide receiver like a Hopkins, like a Julio, like a A.J. Green. I feel like at those points in times, you could have said that Dez Bryant was one of those guys. Maybe not.
Like 3 years ago, Dez was a top 5 receiver.
Maybe not as dominant, but I also think it also had to do with the play calling as well. I think Dez Bryant was as dominant as he was because that was the type of player he was. Mm-hmm. Because you know who really was the number 1 wide receiver in that system was Jason Witten. So maybe I agree, maybe I somewhat disagree, but I think they're not giving Dez Bryant any love whatsoever when this team needs a number 1 wide receiver.
Needs something.
It is. I feel bad. And it's funny, I read Dez's comment on it, and he's pretty much said the same thing that I just said. But I think it's ridiculous for him to come out and say that. Last game of the night, Monday night game, the Redskins at the Saints. The Saints win this game 43-19. And Drew Brees is now the all-time leader in passing yards in the NFL. took over Peyton Manning. First took over Brett Favre, then Peyton Manning. Was a nice touch with the tribute video that Peyton Manning did have. I like that picture when he put it up there.
Yep.
That was Peyton's third year in the NFL when Drew Brees was still at, I believe, Purdue.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool to see. Again, especially with Drew Brees being one of the shorter quarterbacks, pretty interesting. But Tom, I know you want to talk about it. Talk about Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
You know, we have Pony Keg Mike in our league. He's got Kamara. He did not think that Mark Ingram would come back and take over this offense, similar to what he did last year. And Josh, me and you have both thought that was going to be the case. We thought he would come back and get his 15 to 20 touches a game, dig into Kamara's overall workload, and that's exactly what happened. Opening kickoff of this game, the first play of the game for the Saints, Mark Ingram was the running back.
Exactly.
He got the touch. He scored the touchdown on the opening drive. We also saw Alvin Kamara get some punt return play time. That's not what you do for your stud running back. They're just trying to get him touches, plain and simple. When this football team is winning football games, Mark Ingram's going to be in there grinding out those tough yards, getting the goal line carries. You kind of have to mark Alvin Kamara down a little bit. Still an RB1 in my eyes. I think Ingram's an RB1 as well, but he's not going to be that human cheat code that he's been the first 4 weeks of the season.
Oh, I totally agree. Alvin Kamara, you look at the amount of touches that he had. He had 6 carries. And then in the receiving game, he had 3, so 9 total. Mark Ingram, 16 carries, 2. That's half.
Yep.
Half of what Ingram had. Plus, you throw in the Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is the one getting these red zone touchdowns. It's an interesting dynamic on what this Saints offense is running right now. But the thing is that I wanted to talk about after that was Mike Thomas. Didn't have that big of a game. Only had 5 targets. But you know what? When you got Mark Ingram, that defense playing the way that they're doing, he doesn't have to do much. But Mike Thomas supposedly was pushing people and
Did you see all the Twitter
just
stuff?
touching people. They go. I don't even want to talk about Mike Thomas. What was he doing? Was he hitting people after? Well, yeah. Oh, he went up to you and hit you? They're like, no, not like hit me. Like, we'd be walking back and you'd just be tapping my leg. Seriously, you're gonna get that upset over that? And then when he came out, he was wearing a ski mask and come on, you can't get over that? Honestly, that'd be the player when I played rugby, right? When I'd walk by people, and Mike could say the same thing. You know what we did? We'd go down to pretend to tie our shoe, and we would untie somebody else's shoe. Double knot it. It's funny. It makes us laugh, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's trolling everybody on the field.
Mike Thomas having a good time out there, and
yeah.
Josh Norman wanted nothing to do with that, and Mike Thomas was just trolling him on Twitter as well. Fantastic. He had about 15 tweets after the game just making fun of the corners for the Redskins. He pretty much said he got in their head early, and they wanted nothing to do with him the rest of the football game. You got to have fun out there.
I think it's safe to say that Dunbar is the number 1 corner on that team now.
Yeah.
I don't think Josh Norman is the guy. My favorite part about Mike Thomas talking about Norman, though, was have fun in zone, covering nobody. It's just, dude, it's so funny just trolling people. It just makes me laugh. Man, but a good week overall for week number 5. So let's go and talk about week number 6, Tom. Let's go week number 5. How many points did you have in week number 5? Do you know?
8.
8.
Not great.
I thought you had more than that in week number 5. No.
I forgot to. I picked the Jags, and my confidence pool I picked the Chiefs, so I forgot to switch it here. I switched it my other, but I got 8.
Oh, okay. Oh, then great. Tim the Idiot got 11. Maybe
What?
that's what I was looking at.
Damn.
I thought you had 11 because I didn't think there was any way in hell that Tim would have 11. I had 8 as well, so I got to stop picking upsets because that's what I just keep doing. So I think I got some smart picks here. We got about 15 minutes to run through this, so it's going to be very interesting on how to do this. Thursday night game. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants.
Man, I always go with the home team. I think I'm going to go away from my gut right here. I'm going to pick the Eagles, man.
Ooh.
I think they
That's a lot of the public are picking the Eagles here.
I know. That's the hot pick right now. really think they need to win this football game. I think that defense, that offense is going to get up. They need to win this game. They can't fall to 2-4 and be tied for the division lead with the Giants.
All right, fair enough, man. I am actually going to go with the Giants. Ooh. Yeah, I know. It's, again, I just said I got to stop picking upsets. But the Giants, I feel like after this game, Sterling Shepard trying to tear apart Eli Manning, the garbage can, fighting the bench. I feel like they have to bring this team together. This team has to.
Yeah.
Has to. And I feel like against the Eagles, divisional team, division opponent, the Eagles are hurting right now. Noah Ajayi, the other running backs on the team are hurting. I'm gonna go with the Giants. I think the Giants are gonna win this game. Next game we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons.
I haven't seen the point total for this game, but it has to be close to 60. Neither of these teams can really play that good a defense. I expect both of them to be over the 30-point mark. I'm just going to go with the home team. I love Jameis this week, but he's prone to turn the football over. I could see him having a costly interception late and the Falcons finally getting another W.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Basically, I'm going back to my original plan of picking against Tampa Bay every week, hoping that they win. Because ever since I picked Tampa Bay to win, they lost. So I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons to win this game. Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans.
The Bills have been a pretty good football team at home. They just beat the Tennessee Titans, but the Titans have an anemic offense. Texans are not that way. I think they'll be able to move the football. They get the W in this week and get back to 500. That's huge for this Texans football team who started 0-3.
What team goes overseas? Do you know?
That should be the Raiders Seahawks, I believe.
Seahawks. Okay. Moving on. I'm gonna go with the Houston Texans. I just think that they're the better team overall. Just kind of like what you said. Buffalo, if they have any chance to win this game, is their defense, and if they get that running game going. But I don't know if they can do that against the Houston front. So, Houston Texans for me. Next up, Chicago Bears at the Miami Dolphins.
I really want to go for the upset, take the Dolphins in this.
A lot of people are.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of scores of 21-10 for this game for the Dolphins.
You know, I'm going to, Josh.
All right, fair enough.
I like how the Dolphins defense has been playing. They were dominating that Cincinnati game until they started turning the football over, gave up 2 defensive touchdowns. I think Mitch Trubisky will struggle on the road. Every Bears fan I know thinks they're going to the Super Bowl right now. And this is going to be a nice little smack of reality. Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill get the job done. It's ugly, though. I'm
going to go with the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than what Bears fans think it's going to be. But I think it might be like a 17-14 game. Something that's like that. So, Chicago Bears for me. They should win this game, though, coming off their bye week.
Yeah.
If they don't, coming off the bye week, if they do lose like a 21-10 or something like that, there's going to be a lot of people asking for some answers from Mr. Nagy. So, we'll see how that goes. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 4-1 right now. Joe Mixon's back. He looks good to go. And they're able to run the football. Andy Dalton's playing good enough. Tyler Boyd has emerged as a good number 2 wide receiver. AJ Green, and I like that young defense the Bengals have. The Steelers are not the same team on the road. I think the Bengals get the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Bengals, their offense is clicking on all cylinders right now. I know Andy Dalton only had 1 touchdown last week, down game for him. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have been giving up huge amount of points overall and huge amount of passing yards. So I think Andy Dalton, that offense as a whole, will do enough to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plus, Pittsburgh's not at home. They're on the road. So, completely different team in my eyes. So, Cincinnati Bengals for me. LA Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to give you my pick first, Tom. I love this matchup for Baker Mayfield against the LA Chargers secondary. But I am going to go with the Chargers to win this game. I love Phillip Rivers. I think he's going to have 4 touchdowns in this game. I know the Browns secondary has actually been pretty good overall. Held Joe Flacco to no touchdowns last week. They've been good. Ward has been a monster. Blocked a field goal. Interceptions after interceptions. I just think that this may be a shootout back and forth, and I think we're going to see Phillip Rivers with a lot of points.
The Browns, they're a good football team. Every game they've been in this year, they've had the chance to win it. Now they got the real quarterback there in Baker Mayfield. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think a lot of people are going to think the Chargers can go in there and just whoop them. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be, I'm kind of a lot different than you. I think it's going to be low scoring, like a 21-20 type game where the Chargers score like a last-second touchdown to kind of get revenge on the Browns, because I believe the last time they played, the Browns won on Christmas Eve. That was that year they went 1-15. But I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one, but a very, very close game.
I can see this game like a 37-31 type game.
So we're like total polar opposites on how we feel like this game's going
to be. It'll be 12-9. So.
All field goals.
Yeah. Next up, we got the Colts at the Jets.
Hasn't been a great year, Josh. 1-4 for my Colts. Sam Darnold and the Jets are 2-3, coming off a big time win. I think this is a must-win for the Colts. If they want to have any chance at making the playoffs, they have to go in there and win this football game. Hopefully, the 10 days off does help this team and their big-time injury situation. I'm going to go with the Colts. Right now, it's considered an upset according to the public, and I believe they're the underdogs according to Vegas as well. I think the Colts going into New York, they're able to stop the run and limit Sam Darnold and get a W.
Yeah, you just talked about the run with the Jets and Isaiah Crowell. We've seen Isaiah Crowell, big game, down game, big game, down game, big game. What is next? A down game for him against the Colts. I think that the Colts are going to do just enough to get a win, eke out a win against the Jets. I'm going to go with the Colts in this game. Next up, Seattle Seahawks at the Oakland Raiders. I'm going to give you my pick real quick, Tom. The Raiders are trash. Marshawn Lynch, he hates everybody. I don't know what's going on with Amari Cooper. I don't even think Seattle's that good. But I'm going to go with Seattle to win this game.
This is one of the hardest games of the week for me. I believe this is the London game as well, which normally random things happen. The way the Seahawks are playing, they're content having Russell Wilson, their prize quarterback, throw the football 20 times a game, and they're content running the football close to 40 times a game. And the Raiders, really, we don't know what this team is. We've seen them play the Browns very tough, who are a pretty good football team. See them play the Rams pretty tough in the first half. I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this one. Kind of a big time upset. I'm not a believer in either of these teams. I just think Carr's gonna find a way to get it done in this one, and I think Cooper, everyone's gonna be down on him again. He's gonna come out and have one of those 8 to 9 catch games and get a touchdown this week.
Well, I sure hope so, because I have him in another league. I started him. And I was very disappointed, so we'll see how that goes. Arizona Cardinals at the Minnesota Vikings.
The Vikings finally find a way to run the football. Right now, the Arizona Cardinals are 32nd in the league at giving away fantasy points to running backs. I think the Vikings will be able to finally run the football, which I think is going to be a down week for those receivers. This week will end Adam Thielen's 100-yard streak. I don't think it gets to 6.
Bro,
Vikings
don't be like that.
Blow out the Cardinals.
Don't say that.
Sorry, dude.
Thielen 200 yards receiving. That's why. Vikings smoke the Cardinals in this game. I think you're going to see Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen both in the 100-yard mark. So we'll see how that game shakes out. Carolina Panthers at the Washington Redskins.
It was kind of fitting on Columbus Day that the Redskins lost and they got massacred. It kind of made sense because that's what Columbus did to the Indians. I'm going to give the Carolina Panthers the edge. It is a road game. They just beat the Washington Redskins division rival, the Giants. This is a game where I think the Redskins have a legit chance. They're a team that's kind of been up and down. You know, they've lost to the Colts, but then they whooped the crap out of the Packers, who a lot of people thought the Packers were a far superior team. It'll be interesting to see what they can do at home. They need to win this football game, but I think Carolina, Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and those receivers are going to be able to do enough to beat this Redskins team right now.
Yeah, I just think the Carolina Panthers are just too good. Washington, obviously, they got destroyed by the Saints this past week. So I think you're going to see the Redskins come out with a fire in their eye. But then you know what's going to happen. Christian McCaffrey is going to tap Josh Norman on the leg multiple times. He's going to get upset. So Carolina Panthers for me. They win this game. LA Rams at the Denver Broncos.
We will see the injuries, how they affect the Rams offense. We kind of see the second half of the week, or second half of the game last week against Seahawks. It did hurt their offense being without Cooks and Cooper Kupp. We'll see if those two guys can go. I still think the Rams will be able to get the job done. The Broncos, they're going to have to try to run the football like the Seahawks did last week. They have two good running backs, Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. But we'll see if that coaching staff can develop a game plan to keep the football out of Jared Goff's hands. I got to go with the Rams. Todd Gurley, I think has a monster game.
Yeah, the Rams for me as well. For some reason, I think we're just going to have a Chad Kelly sighting. I don't know why.
You're just going to say it every week.
Every week.
And then when you hit, you're going to look like a genius.
I think we're going to have a Chad Kelly sighting this week. That's all. Next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Dallas Cowboys.
Man, kind of a tough game for me. I think it should be a lot easier.
It should be on paper. You look at the Jags, you look at the Dallas Cowboys. It should be Jags all the way.
Yep.
But you see how the Jags have been playing, and you see how atrocious the Cowboys have.
Yep.
But I think this is more has to do with how the Jags have been playing than Dallas.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Look, the Jags, they're able to shut down passing attacks to limit offenses that way. But Dallas, it doesn't matter who they play. Their passing attacks can be limited anyways.
Exactly.
That team relies on Zeke, and if they could run the football and make opponents like commit 8 to the box and still able to get first down to first down, they can win this football game, but I got to go with the Jaguars. Look, Blake Bortles is one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL. Was absolutely terrible last week against the Chiefs, which a lot of people thought he was going to torch that team. He did have a lot of yards, but a ton of turnovers. I really like Dallas's defense in this matchup. Jalen Smith looks 100% back. LVE looks like he's Sean Lee's replacement, and they're not going to be missing a beat. They can get after the quarterback. I just think Jacksonville and that defense will be able to do enough. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, though.
I'm going to go the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think they're the better team overall. I think they have an up week, down week, up week, down week. I think this is one of the weeks where they whoop on the Dallas Cowboys. I am just not a firm believer in the Cowboys.
Yep.
They don't have a receiver on that team that worries me. The worst wide receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars would be, in my opinion, the best wide receiver on the Dallas Cowboys. Moving on, we have the Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. 3 more games to go.
Ravens coming off a loss to the Browns. Titans coming off a loss to the Bills. Both kind of upsets from last week. Not a lot of people were predicting those. The Ravens, I think they're the better overall team. Both these teams are defensive teams who've kind of been carried by their defenses, but I think the Ravens have the better offense. Flacco, Smokey John Brown, you got Michael Crabtree, and that running back by committee you got in Baltimore. I think they'll be able to do enough. I really think this is going to be another one of those low-scoring games, possibly 17-10, 17-13, bring you back to some early 2000, late 1990s football in this one.
Yeah, these teams remind me a lot of each other, like you just said. Kind of the same thing, but Baltimore does everything just a tad bit better in every aspect of the game. I'm going to go with 18-12, a safety. There will be a safety somewhere.
Yes.
Next game, Kansas City Chiefs at the New England Patriots.
This is going to be a fun game. I'm excited. Last time these two teams played,
I wish this was the Monday night game.
yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's a good Sunday night game though. You got to expect a lot of high scoring. Vegas total close to 60 already. Probably go up. I'm gonna give Patrick Mahomes his first loss as a quarterback in the NFL. kind of against my better judgment, but going into New England is tough. New England Patriots are tough to beat at Foxborough. I think it's going to be a total shootout. Whoever has the football last is going to win the game. But I really like the balance that Sony Michel has given this New England Patriots offense. If Gronk could get going, they got Julian Edelman. Josh Gordon is on a good. He's got a good rapport with Tom Brady right now. I just think this is a big-time shootout and one of the better games of the week.
Well, Tom, we're on the same page because I have the New England Patriots giving Patrick Mahomes his first loss as well. Pretty much all the same reasons you had. James White out of that backfield is a huge compliment to Sony Michel and what he has added to that running game as well. So I think the Patriots will end up winning this game. Last game, Monday night game, the San Francisco 49ers at the Green Bay Packers.
I'm actually going to this football game, Josh.
Are you?
It'll be exciting. Lambeau Field's always a good time. But kind of sucks Jimmy Garoppolo's not there. You know, it should be a one-sided ass whooping for the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully they get the job done, and hopefully your boy Aaron Jones gets a chance to feast and get 15-plus touches in this game. Packers big-time win on Monday.
Yeah, he should. I don't have him on my fantasy team anymore, but I am still a firm believer in Aaron Jones. I'm going to go with the Packers. I think their offense is just that much better than the 49ers right now. So that's all we have for you guys for our Week 5 recap and Week 6 picks. Tom, anything else?
That's all I got.
We have no Tim this week again, so you guys can go on Twitter and make fun of him at Fight Talk Tim. You guys can ask us your questions for fantasy football at pony_keg_Tom and at PonyKeg Sports. You guys can email us any questions you got, ponykegsports@gmail.com. And until next time.